Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Woodstock, Georgia, it's time for Cherokee Business Radio. Now, here's your host.
Welcome to Cherokee Business Radio. Stone Payton here with you, and you guys are in for a real treat for this special afternoon episode. Please join me in welcoming to the broadcast with Maxwell Cigar Bar, Mr. Harvey Burkin. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
We've been chatting about having you come in the studio for some time now, almost immediately after my wife Holly and I moved here, and I have so been looking forward to this. Holly and I have been here all of 6 months, maybe. And how long have you been in this community?
Well, I actually live in Marietta, but my shop's been here since 2010.
Oh my! I bet a lot has changed since then. And your shop, is it Arnold Mill by the time you get on that side of Main Street, or they call it something else?
That side is Town Lake Parkway. Town
Lake Parkway. So yeah, if you would, for the folks, the address of Maxwell Cigar Bar, what's the address, and kind of describe the location?
150 Town Lake Parkway, Suite 158 in Woodstock.
So the way I describe it is it's a 5-minute walk from Stone's house, because Holly and I bought a home right there on the edge of town. And, it's like a 4-minute walk to Rootstock and then another minute over to your place. And occasionally coming or going, particularly if it's like, late afternoon, early evening, I've seen deer a couple times in that, in that woods back there you had to. So, mission, purpose, objective, what prompted you to have a cigar bar? What are you trying to create for people with that?
Well, I've been a fine cigar lover for about 35 years, and I've been in the car business, half my life or longer, since 1979, and made good money in the car business, much better money than I'm making now. But I hated going to work every day. I didn't look forward to it. And I really had no intention of opening a cigar bar until about the last year I was in the car business. And I just started putting some ideas together, started looking for a location, and boom, here I am. It was tough get going. We opened up on Chambers Street, right in downtown Woodstock. And I was scared to death. The condos upstairs when they first built them in 2008, they were asking $500,000 for a 1-bedroom.
Wow.
And when I leased my spot in 2010, the sales office had a sign out front, condos from the 140s. So, I mean, just, the economy busted, right. And, just nobody was buying them. And my only hope to do a decent business, I was right across from Pure Taqueria, and they have an upstairs outdoor patio that people eat at. I thought, well, maybe I can get enough traffic just from people sitting up there eating, deciding, hey, after dinner, let's go have a cigar, have a glass of wine or a beer. And that's how I got started. And it was tough. First few years, I had to keep putting money back into the company, and it probably took 3 or 4 years before it started holding its own.
So what was the biggest challenge in getting that thing up and running? If you remember, what was the toughest part?
Oh, going through all the licensing.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, if I had known all the stumbling blocks, I probably never would have done it.
That is not the first time we've heard very successful entrepreneurs come in here, and they're like these 10-year overnight success stories, right? And they're like, if I'd have known then what I know now, I'd have done something totally different.
Yeah, between the health department and the city licensing and the state licensing, and everybody, so many people trying to make tobacco illegal. And they try to group cigars in the same category as cigarettes. And, so many studies have shown that they're totally different. People don't chain smoke cigars. They don't inhale cigars. They don't have the same health risks as cigarettes do. But the government keeps trying to lump them into the same group.
So you built this business, and it had its trials early on, as you've described, and then you made it over some hump or some series of humps, and now you've got you have this thing going. But I've been there. I've been there several times now. Sometimes I'll just pick up a cigar, but a few times I've sat down and just sort of, I've enjoyed the people watching and just kind of hanging out and relaxing. You've built something far beyond a place to have a cigar or a beer or a little bit of wine. You've built this destination. You've built this oasis. You've built this, I don't even know what the right word for it is. How you've built this thing that I don't even know how to describe.
And it wasn't really part of any kind of business plan. It just kind of evolved. There's a lot of cigar stores. There's a ton of cigar stores in the state of Georgia. I mean, there used to be over 200. I don't know if there still are. If a pandemic put some of them under, I don't know. But a lot of them, they're just a walk in, buy cigars and leave. A lot of them, you can buy cigars, sit there and smoke. Most do not have an alcohol license of any kind. In fact, when I was originally trying to open, I was looking for a place in Marietta in Cobb County where I live, and not realizing it, but at that time or still, you can't get an alcohol license, even beer and wine, unless 51% of your business is food. And I used to be in the restaurant business, and I am not interested in food.
You knew you didn't want that.
The health department put me through enough hoops just because I have to wash glasses. I had to put an extra bathroom in. I had to put certain type of floor down under a 3-compartment sink with a hand wash sink, and things that I never would have had to done if I would serve wine in plastic cups. But I didn't think wine goes well with plastic cups, so I succumbed to their requirements, and they charge me every year for health inspections. And, I don't know really how much they inspect, because all I'm doing is washing glasses. Anyway.
Well, I just so enjoy, and sometimes tomorrow I may go grab a cigar or two, and just so that I have a couple at the house. I haven't, don't have like a humidor at home or anything, but I got one, a quarter of a mile away that Harvey maintains, so I don't even have to worry about it. But I have also enjoyed just chilling out. There's 2 or 3, 4 screens in there. You can watch the sports, or sometimes you'll have like the cool car channel on there. But one thing I have noticed is often, the screen right behind the bar thing, there's often a Cubs game going. What's the deal with that?
I'm from Chicago, and I am a diehard Cubs fan. So if there's a Cubs game on TV, it's going to be on one of those screens. Otherwise, it's going to be, I have the MLB app on my phone, so if it's not being televised, I'll sit there watching it on my phone. But we're a little different than most of the other shops. In fact, I've got people come in that say, I pass by 4 cigar shops on my way here. I said, wow. Why do you come here? Well, because, I go into other places and there's little cliques of people, sitting around talking to each other. And it's almost like, I'm sitting there by myself. He said, this is like a Cheers. You walk in, you're greeted, you're helped. If you need help in the humidor, people sitting down will say, hey, first time here? Hey, let me show you around. It's just a very inviting, open atmosphere. Another thing that sets us apart from most of the other cigar stores is we have live entertainment on Friday and Saturday nights. It's mostly blues. Being from Chicago, I'm a big blues fan.
Yeah.
Some rock and roll. And we get the quality of the talent that we get, musicians. It amazes me that they will play for as small amount of money as I could afford. And the reason I've got such a tight budget on the entertainment is because I don't charge a cover charge. So the music's free, and to help the musicians, because I know I don't pay them nearly as much as they're worth, I'll walk around during the night with the tip jar and try to collect some money for them. But I don't charge a cover charge because I don't want to deter the person that just wants to walk in and sit down and smoke a cigar and have a beer. Right. So therefore, I don't charge a cover charge. I don't want to have those people turn around and walk away.
Well, thank you so much for going to the trouble and expense of getting the beer and wine license, because it is very nice for me. As my listeners know, I'm a huge fan of the IPA. And as much walking as I'm doing, I haven't really lost any weight because I typically will cap my walk off with an IPA, either walking by Reformation or by your shop. But it does make all the difference in the world, being able to have a glass of wine or pour a beer. And I see that people really enjoy that. Did you ever anticipate, maybe you knew what you were doing from day one, maybe it just sort of came together. There is this cheers. There's this norm atmosphere that is there. That's got to feel good to know that you helped create that.
It does. I mean, I've been in sales all my life, so customer service is very high on my priority list.
Right.
And another few comments I hear from people going into other stores that it's like, they don't care if you're there or not. I do. If you're not there, I'm out of business. So, when I first opened, I wanted to carry a certain kind of beer. I didn't want to carry light beers or anything like that. And if I'd have stuck with what I liked as far as cigars and beers, I probably would have been out of business in 6 months. Because most people like light beers. Most people like mild cigars. Mm-hmm. Not my favorites, but I'm in business for you. You're what makes the business go. So I got to carry what customers want.
So how does one, because the whole cigar world is relatively new to me, like less than 2 years for me. How does one go about choosing how to stock like that humidor? For me, I'm now kind of getting in the groove. I'm trying to stay open-minded and try different things, but I've begun to land on a couple of old standbys that I know I'm going to enjoy this one or that one. But you must have a tremendous number of choices available to you. How do you? Oh yeah. Yeah. How does that unfold?
Well, because I've been a cigar smoker for 30 plus years, I had a basic knowledge of what a lot of cigars were all about, as far as flavor wise, construction wise. So that helped me tremendously. And then I'd look around at other cigar shops and see what they were selling that I wasn't, and taking cues from my customers. If they didn't see something they were looking for, they would ask me about it. And, if I had enough people ask me for something I didn't carry, I'd start carrying it.
Okay.
And it just grew from there.
So I am not the person who buys a box of cigars and then takes them home to a humidor, although at an event, which was a great deal of fun for me, for a brand that I do enjoy, Perdomo, that guy who I'd seen on the YouTube videos, and I got to shake the hand of the rock star, and he's a big deal in that kind of, in that world. I bought a box and took them home. Do people come to you and buy boxes, or do most people buy smaller like I do in your situation?
No, we get lots of people that come in and buy boxes.
Oh, you do? Okay.
We never did before. When I first opened, people were coming in and buying 1, 2, 3 cigars at a time. And that was it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I try to push sales up a little bit by my everyday special, which I still have. You buy 5 cigars, you get the 6th one free. Or if you buy a box of cigars, you get 10% off. But since my business has evolved and grown, and I'm able to stock more back stock of items,
right? Because
the boxes are there, I'm selling a lot more boxes, and that's tremendously helping my income.
I'll bet it is. Now, a business like yours, because I'm kind of from the services training consultancy world way back when I had black hair and something closer to a job. So I have a little bit of a feel for what sales and marketing, can be in that world. How does the whole sales marketing thing work in a situation like yours? Like, do you advertise? Is it all word of mouth? I don't even know how you go about getting on the map.
It's mostly word of mouth. When I first started, what's that thing called where you sign up and, you can go in and get half off or something.
Oh, well, now, like the Groupon? Okay, Groupon, I remember that. Yeah. Groupon.
I did Groupon, which, turned out to be, fairly expensive, but at least it got me an initial group of customers that never heard of me. But I really don't, and I tried a couple of local newspapers from time to time, but the only advertising I do now costs me nothing. I do Facebook, Twitter, and, I've got an email list that you can get on it also. And I post entertainment that's going to be on weekly, and any new cigars we may have, any special events like cigar events. Sometimes we have scotch tastings, whiskey tastings, bourbon tastings. I post all that. So if you want to get on my email list, I can tell you how right now.
Yeah, go ahead. We'll do it at the end too, but tell them now, how do people start kind of getting tapped into your community and see what's going on?
Just go into your text and text the word cigars to 66866. 66866. Just text the word cigars. It'll prompt you for your email address, and then you'll be on our list. And you'll know everything that's going on at Maxwell's.
That's handy. Okay, so let's back up even further. You talked a little bit about being in the car business. I can't remember now if it was before we went on air or after we went on air, where you talked a little bit about being in the restaurant business. Where did it all start? Like, did you went to school? Yeah, back us up a little bit. Let's get the backstory on how you got here.
I went to Southern Illinois University, home of the Salukis.
What is a Saluki?
Saluki's a dog. It almost kind of looks like a greyhound.
Right.
Anyway, not a very big sports school, although they did make the Sweet 16 in basketball a few times.
Right.
But, terrible football team. It's not really a school to go to if you're into sports. I got my degree, funny enough, in broadcasting. But getting out, I was managing a restaurant, making 3 to 4 times as much as I would have as a starting out disc jockey. So I just kind of passed on that and kept with the restaurant business, and then opened a Chicago hot dog restaurant in Gainesville, Florida. And it lasted about 2 years. And I decided to get out of it, move.
You're just very entrepreneurial, though. I mean, just pretty early on, you sort of did your own thing.
Yeah, but after the restaurant business, I wanted to move back to a big city, but something that didn't have the severe winters like Chicago, but it had 4 seasons. So Atlanta seemed like the perfect place. I was single at the time. In fact, I'm single again. Atlanta,
but lovingly attached, I understand.
Lovingly attached is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Shout out to her, who is not. She doesn't like to be out front so much. So
right. But her name is Patrice.
All right. Shout out to Patrice. Bless your heart, Patrice. Thank you for keeping Harvey happy.
So I moved here, and after the restaurant business, I was a little bit scared of sticking my foot in the water to open another business. So I got
You're a little gun shy, huh?
Yeah. So I got into the car business, and I was in it for, like I said, over 30 years. And then I decided, I'm getting up there in age. I hate what I'm doing. And that's what, made me do the switch.
That, did you had to be a little bit nervous.
Oh, I was scared to death.
You'd have to be.
Yeah.
Now, I believe it's your son that is there quite regularly. So is this now, or will it become a family business, or is this a distraction for the son until he figures out his own thing, or?
A little of all of the above.
But doesn't that add the reason I'm asking is we have had, in fact, at one time we actually had a show called Family Owned Business. And it's my understanding from, just kind of hanging on the periphery of that show and just running the board. I wasn't even part of the actual show. There's different dynamics and all that, right? I mean, do you talk about that at Thanksgiving dinner? Is it like off the table? I mean, it's a different dynamic, right?
Well, he worked for me for the first couple of years that we were open, first 2 or 3 years. And, it's tough working with family. So, the working relationship ended for several years, and, he's grown up quite a bit, and he's come back to work for me again, probably, I would say, within the last year. So, we're getting along much better than we used to.
Well, no, I think and my wife, bless her heart, I mean, she's the only reason that I could even, do this kind do this kind of thing, especially in the early years. And I often will ask her advice, and behind the scenes, she might record a voiceover or, but I don't know, day to day working. I mean, that would be a different, I don't know if I'd be willing to bite that off. So as you think about, the future plans, have you pretty much just got this puppy dialed in and it is what it is and you're going to ride it through? Or do you have some vision of doing something more and different down the line?
I had thoughts of opening, a Maxwell's 2 or, but no, at my age, I'm not going to do it.
Okay.
I'm going to keep doing it until I can't do it anymore. And then, we'll see what happens. Put it up for sale or, see if my son wants to buy it.
There you go. Or knowing with the community that you've built, you might be able to sell it to your customers.
Oh yeah.
Seriously.
I wouldn't doubt that at all.
I bet you could. I bet there's a dozen, half a dozen that say, okay, we're going to buy Harvey's place.
In fact, there were a couple spots that were open that seemed to be crying for a business like mine. And several of my customers had offered to back me if I wanted to.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So they know that Maxwell's is a good place, and they would, I guess, like the formula, and I wouldn't mind putting some capital into it. But like I said, I don't have that much energy anymore.
Well, I mean, and why necessarily do it? If you've built what you wanted, you've created this thing, and you had this marvelous community. And incidentally, my experience has been, and I've only been going there since maybe January. Yes, there are this group of regulars, and yes, you do see them visiting with each other. And they are very quick to invite someone like me into the conversation in a heartbeat. And they're very quick to be helpful. And so I'm accustomed to being in some environments like that where you can tell that there's this inner circle, which is cool. And so you have that group that, that's the other thing. Are they playing trivia sometimes on one of those screens?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought, and so you've got like this regular group and they're doing something interactive. But even if I just stand there for a second and smile, I mean, they're inviting me into the conversation, and it's I don't know. It's just a very inviting, welcoming environment. Forgive me, I can't remember whether I just read it on the internet or if we already talked about it, but there's a story behind the name Maxwell's.
Yep.
Yeah. What's the deal? Because you're not Maxwell.
I'd be sitting in my office, in the car business, at downtimes with legal pads full of names that I wanted to come up with for the cigar bar. And I just go through sheet after sheet after sheet, and nothing really seemed to click. And then all of a sudden, Maxwell's came to me. Maxwell was a dog that I had that we had to put down about 15 years ago. But he was my best friend. I would come home from the car business sometimes not till midnight, 1 a.m. You heard the garage door open. He'd come running down the stairs, follow me around through my routine where I'd go back upstairs, change clothes, pick out a cigar, come down, put some jazz or blues on the outdoor speakers on my deck and sit out there and smoke a cigar and have a glass of wine or a glass of scotch. And he'd just be sitting on the deck with me, like right by the steps, watching over, just to make sure everything was okay. I'd finish my cigar, my drink, I'd go back in, and we'd both go to bed. And about the first week after he was gone, I'd go out there and smoke a cigar, and I'd just be crying my eyes out.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, so I figured, let me name the place Maxwell's. It sounds like a fairly classy name. Keep his name alive. In fact, I've got a picture of him behind the bar. People come in and say, "Are you Maxwell?" Say no. And I point to his picture. I go, "That's Maxwell."
Oh, I love it. Oh my gracious. What a dear story. Well, I'm going to be looking more closely for the picture of Maxwell. Okay. Somebody out there, before we wrap, let's see if we can't, maybe shrink the timeline and reduce the friction for somebody else out there. If they've got similar hopes and dreams, somebody out there is in their version of the car business, whatever it is. And they've got some thoughts, and maybe it's only when they've had a bad day, but maybe it's happening more and more. And they're thinking, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to step out and I'm going to open a business. I'm not going to be hemmed in by this thing forever. What advice, what counsel, if any, do you have for someone who may be considering, making that jump?
Do some research. 99% of the people you talk to about it are going to tell you, don't do it. It's going to fail. Stay in your secure job. Don't listen to them. Because when you're on your deathbed, you're probably going to be saying to yourself, what if I had done this? What if I had tried that? Who knows? Why did I listen to all these people that told me it was going to fail? I mean, everybody that starts out in business is scared to death. You just got to jump into it. I did. Scared the life out of me, but it was one of the most exciting moments of my life when I decided to actually go ahead and do it. So that's my advice.
Well, I'm glad I asked, and I can tell, and I know it's coming through on the airwaves too, but sitting here, listening to you and watching you describe the feeling that you have from being the guy that put this thing together. I mean, I can hear it in your voice. I can see it in your eyes. And I could almost feel it in your heart that you really, you're really glad you did this. And it wasn't just about the money. I don't sense.
No, like I said, I'm making a good bit less money than I used to. But the stress level is so much less. My happiness level is so much higher. So, that's all I can say. Right.
And I don't even know how you put a price on some of that. And I'm getting to learn and know more and more. One of the things that I've enjoyed, I mentioned the one event, I think, where the gentleman, is it Nick Perdomo?
Nick Perdomo.
Okay. That was really fun. He did the event and we took pictures and I did buy a box at that time and that was really cool. But you have the live music, which I want to circle back to before we wrap, but you have events from time to time. Now, a lot of people listen to this material on demand. So if you're listening in 2022, 2023, don't go to this event we're about to talk about. Well, Stone will probably be there. By that time, Stone might have a locker. Stone will be there. But like as early as, for those of you who are listening on demand down the road, we're like right neck deep in the heat of summer. It's late July, but it's as early as tomorrow. You've got another one of these kind of event things, right? So talk about that type of thing and that event.
Well, today is Monday, and this Wednesday we have an event with a company called Drew Estate, which huge company. They sell. They're big on flavored cigars. They call them acids. They got real strange names for some of their flavored cigars, but they also have just regular cigars that cigar enthusiasts, cigar aficionados absolutely love. And that event is going to be this Wednesday, the 28th of July from 5 till 9 p.m. There'll be giveaways, door prizes. There'll be all kinds of specials. So if you're around and you're a cigar lover or just want to inquire about them, come on by.
And so you'll do apparently, since I've lived here less than 6 months, you've had 2 or 3 of these things that at least I was aware of. So you just do this periodically from different brands or different things. So that's fun to be a part of. Okay, back to this live event thing. So is this like most weekends or is it like a weekend a month or how does that work?
No, my events, well, I used to do like one cigar event a month. And then the pandemic hit and most of the companies would not let their reps travel.
Right.
So we kind of did away with the events until, this year when
started to open and back up again. And then what about the live music stuff?
Live music, we had to cut out last year. In fact, City of Woodstock told me I had to shut down in March of 2020 because I was a bar.
Ouch.
And I looked up on Cherokee County Health Department's website, and the definition of a bar is a store that sells, I think it said 70 or 75% of their business is alcohol. And mine's nowhere near that. Mine's like maybe 20%. So I stayed open. I closed the lounge, and I cut my hours back to close at 6 o'clock. But you can come in, you could buy cigars. You just couldn't smoke them on the premises. And the stores on both sides of me were closed, so it didn't bother those entrepreneurs. But a lot of my regular customers, they'd come in at 11 o'clock in the morning when we opened. They'd buy their cigars, take out some folding chairs, sit out front, socially distancing out front, 6 feet apart.
Oh, wow.
And and this would happen every day. They just sit out there smoking cigars. And I remember one day I was out there, and a law enforcement officer, I can't remember what branch or if it was city or county or whatever, he pulled up and he walked up and looked at us and said, "You guys 6 feet apart?" I go, "Yes, we are." He says, "I'm just kidding." He says, "I'm just here to buy some cigars."
That's great. I'm glad to hear it. But now things have started to come back to a little bit of sense of normalcy. So you've got, you just had live music this past weekend because my nephew went in, bought a couple of cigars, and we were asking about it. So you'll have live music again, like in August, or? No,
live music we have every weekend, every Friday, every Saturday, Friday and Saturday night.
Holy cow.
9 till midnight.
How do I not know that? Okay. All right. Well, then you're probably going to be seeing more, and you're more in the kind of the blues.
Yep.
Oh, I love the blues. That's going to be, you color me there, and I hope our listeners will take a shot at it too. Okay. Before we wrap, let's make sure, once again, that our listeners have some good points of contact, whatever you think is appropriate. The email, the texting thing, I got to ask you about that off air because that's kind of cool if they can text that and then kind of come into your circle. Yep. LinkedIn, the email, whatever you think, website, whatever you think is appropriate. Let's make sure they can get to you.
Okay. My address on Twitter is at Maxwell Cigar. To be honest with you, I don't know what my contact is on Facebook or Instagram, but I'm on there.
You sound like me.
My physical address is once again 150 Town Lake Parkway, Suite 158, Woodstock 30188. The phone number for the shop is 770-627-2006. Email is info@maxwellscigarbar.com.
Well, Harvey Burkin with Maxwell's Cigar Bar, this has been an absolute delight. I have thoroughly enjoyed getting to know you a little bit more and visiting and delighted to share it with our listening audience. I would love sometime, if it would serve you and if it would be appropriate, I think it might be cool to do like a live broadcast from the cigar bar sometime.
That would be awesome.
All right. So maybe we'll get that kind of thing put together, but thank you so much for investing the time to come down and hang out and visit.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Until next time, this is Stone Payton for our guest today, Harvey Burkin with Maxwell Cigar Bar, and everyone here at the Business RadioX family saying we'll see you next time on Cherokee Business Radio.